In this tutorial, we're going to go over how we can create a movie or attach a video onto our texture so we can actually animate and see what is happening inside our movie. So first things first, I'm going to delete the cube, click Shift A and add a plane. It will be easier to showcase a video onto a plane instead of a cube, so that's what we are doing. I'm going to select the material that we had before for a cube, so we just have it in here. And let's click Shift A and add image texture. Now we're not going to click new, we are going to click open, and then let's go to our import export. This is one of my tutorials. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to connect it to base color. We can see it now on this cube or on this this square, I guess. So let's click S and then X and just scale it so it looks more similar to my monitor, so we can have it nicely stretched. And now let's see some options that we have for this texture. So we just change it to an MP4 and it is a movie, so it automatically changed this property basically from where this image comes from. It changed it to a movie, but normally it is generated. You can also use, or normally it is single image, you can also use image sequence, which is basically PNG or something like that, sequences of images, and then you can also put that as animation. There is also UDIM tiles, which gets a bit more complicated. It has to do something with UVs, so we are not going to go over that now. Now some settings here that are important are frames, so how many total frames we want to show, and we can say, let's say 800. We want to start from our first frame, and then we can also offset our whole video if we want to do this. Let's also move this around and then switch this to a timeline, so we can actually see how we move through space here or through time. And let's change our ending to 800, so to be similar to the video. Now if we scroll, we can see our video is not actually animated, and the reason for this is that auto refresh is not on. So now we can see that if I actually scroll, our video is actually playing on our texture, which is pretty nice. This is kind of exactly what we wanted to do. Next thing, we have cyclics, so this means that when it comes to the last frame, it will start from the beginning. We don't want to do that, but we can now see that we have some empty space in the beginning where my mouse just stands in the corner. So let's say we want to start from when I click right click and get to these options. We can basically offset the whole video, set it to around 300. So now when we come to the beginning, we can see we quickly come to this point. Maybe we want to move it even a bit more, maybe around 300. Let's do a bit more. Now we can see we are starting from the point that we wanted. So this can be pretty useful when you want to actually start from a specific point you want. You can also start frames. This offset basically means that it will start from 365th and then count up to 800 frames. You can also start from 365 and then start frame maybe 10 frames later, so it will start at 375. So this is kind of the relationship it has. You also have a color space. For me, sRGB is right for this, so we don't have to change it. But if you have a raw video, you could use this or anything else there. But for me, sRGB is completely fine. Now we can see that in our level, this video does not look right. Let's see, we want to just purely show the video without any reflections, without any additional stuff. What we would want to do is first disable specular completely. But still it looks kind of dark. This is not exactly what you want. And instead of dealing with lighting in the scene, what I'm going to do is just pull the color to emission. So we are purely emitting 100% of whatever the video was. So this is kind of what you get, and this is pretty close to how the video would look on your monitor, since we are using emissive. And let's disable emissive just to show what happens. So now the whole kind of brightness of our images is or brightness of this plane is changed by the brightness of the actual model, but we don't want that, so we can just put it into emission, and it's just pure color of the video is coming back to us. So that's basically what the emission does. So you never want to have any metallic, anything else enabled, everything disabled except set this to emission. So that's kind of it. You can also do some mappings. We can also do texture coordinates. So if I do UVs in the vector in the video, let's say for some reason you want this video to be a bit smaller, bigger, you can also do this. You can scale it up, and we should find, so extend won't work, clipping might be nice. So we can kind of have a video and scale it up, scale it down, kind of manipulate it in here. So you have all of the options that you have for the normal image, but now this image is actually animated. And keep in mind that since we went through animation, you can also animate things like offset, where you actually change over time. So I can set keyframe here and then keyframe here, so I can actually change my animation. And now I think I have, let's see, I don't have the, I'm not in the dope sheet, so I cannot see it. But in here we have the actual offset of the animation. So you can actually animate it by hand if you want it to go faster, go slower, stuff like that. And also keep in mind that you have some options in here. So in the material, you're usually going to get some options to actually animate. If you don't want, if you are in some other view and you just want to quickly change some settings, you can also go into material and go down here, and you can actually change some stuff in here instead of changing your whole setup and finding the properties. So yeah, that's kind of the basics for how you could import a video or animate a video inside Blender.